On April 18, 1912, a torrential downpour soaked a crowd of 40,000 people gathered at the New York docks. They were waiting for a rescue ship called the Carpathia to bring their loved ones home. When the ship finally arrived, it carried only 706 survivors. Over 1,500 people had been lost to the Atlantic, leaving the world to grapple with a scale of death that seemed impossible. The Titanic was built to be indestructible, a peak achievement of modern engineering. Yet, on its very first voyage, it vanished. On April 10th, the Titanic stood as the largest mobile object ever built. It reached 269 meters in length and towered 53 meters high, dwarfing every other vessel in the harbor. Safety was the priority. The ship utilized a double-bottom hull, placing a second layer of steel at the very base to protect against underwater collisions. Above that base, the lower interior was divided into 16 separate watertight compartments. The engineering was so advanced that the Titanic could fill 4 of these massive sections with water and still remain afloat indefinitely. At the time, maritime experts believed a collision capable of breaching 5 or more of these sections simultaneously was a physical impossibility. These engineering redundancies ultimately buckled under the weight of a cascading sequence of human oversights. The first failure was corporate. The White Star Line intended for the Titanic to reach New York in exactly 6 days, prioritizing a high-speed arrival to market the ship's power to the world. Ship owner Bruce Ismay pressured Captain Smith to maintain top speed, even as the wireless room received and ignored 7 separate warnings about massive ice fields directly in their path. A last-minute administrative change then removed a key officer named David Blair from the crew right before the ship set sail. Blair left the ship in a hurry, accidentally carrying the key to a locker in the crow's nest, the locker containing the only pair of binoculars available to the lookouts. On a moonless night with perfectly calm water, there were no waves breaking against the ice to reveal its position. Without their binoculars, the lookouts were forced to rely on their eyes alone. This oversight effectively blinded the crew, leaving the ship's survival dependent on luck rather than logic. At 11:40 p.m., the Iceberg was finally spotted, but the Titanic was moving too fast to turn. Despite throwing the engines into reverse, the ship sideswiped the ice, scraping its right side along the jagged edge. For decades, the sinking was blamed on a massive gash in the hull, but when the wreck was finally located in September 1985, forensic analysis revealed a structural secret. To save on costs, the ship's builders used cheaper cast-iron rivets to hold the hull plates together. Unlike steel, cast iron is brittle. Under the pressure of the collision, these rivets snapped like glass, causing the steel plates to unseal and pull apart. This mechanical failure allowed the ocean to bypass the double hull, flooding the interior at an uncontrollable rate. The seams split across 6 different compartments. The Titanic was designed to survive 4. With 6 breached, the ship's fate was sealed within minutes of the stripe. Corporate cost-cutting compromised the ship's structural integrity long before the ice ever touched it. As the ship began to sink, help was only 37 kilometers away. A vessel called the SS Californian was parked within sight of the disaster. The Californian had stopped for the night due to ice risks and had completely shut down its wireless radio, leaving its crew deaf to the Titanic's distress signals. The crew of the Californian actually saw the Titanic's distress flares in the distance, but their captain dismissed the sightings and refused to investigate. Even the most advanced safety systems are useless when the people responsible for them choose to look the other way. There were 2,200 people on board and only 20 lifeboats. Even if every boat were filled to its 65-person capacity, over 1,000 people were already doomed by the shortage of equipment. Because there was no lifeboat drill or established protocol, the panic was immediate. The first boats were lowered half empty, carrying fewer than 30 people each, while hundreds huddled on the tilting decks. At 2:20 a.m., the weight of the flooded bow snapped the ship in 2. The Titanic vanished into the freezing Atlantic, taking 1,500 lives with it in less than 3 hours. The final autopsy reveals a manufactured catastrophe, a precise alignment of ignored warnings, brittle fasteners, and institutional neglect. The wreck of the Titanic serves as a reminder that the ocean does not care about engineering claims or corporate speed records. Nature eventually finds the flaws in everything we call unsinkable.